Hey guys, this is Carnifex, another Nerd This video. Today we are going to go over the five characters that are fantastic in the raid. They really are. They are mechanically sound in particular. That's where they bring a lot of value because raid is generally going to be about mechanics. But you are really struggling if you find these guys being used on anything outside of the raid, unless it's their race-specific missions or their job-specific missions like gladiators, right, are coming up. If they're a gladiator, sure, you're going to use them because you need 5. But they're not going to be carrying you. Essentially, they're very focused on their use within the raid. So this time we actually only have 5 characters. If you saw my 5 that are my video on 5 characters that are great at PvP and also fantastic at the raid, I kind of cheated a little bit and added. So today we are not doing that, and you will notice that even in my squad, all of these characters except one is not even at gear level 7 yet. And the one that is one of the easiest to bring to gear level 7 in the entire game. And so it was just kind of like, I just had the stuff flying around, why not? I have been kind of working on building a few of them, the top, but even number 5, you can see I have not even promoted him. So, and this brings me to a good point. This is not me saying pour everything into these guys. I would prioritize all the people in the first video, but if you are looking for characters who, hey, I've built out some of those obvious characters, right? Who else do I want to put on? Maybe what's a team comp I haven't thought about yet? Who's a character I've kind of forgotten about because they're really not great at anything, and Sharpe is one of those characters. So there are 2 primary debuffs that are fantastic for any raid boss, any part of the raid, as long as they don't have some kind of immunity to it. And one of them is sometimes defense down, but like armor decrease. 50% chance for 2 turns. That's a pretty solid chance. You're pretty much going to be able to keep defense down, or armor decrease on the entire match. That's really good for maximizing your damage. Multi-hit. You don't even have to boost this up. You can leave this right here. Right? Worth it probably to put a little into it, because the whole point of Sharpe is on an Erochar team. You're not going to use him anywhere else. He would be terrible to use against Megawheel for the same reason, right? Multiple hits, bad against Megawheel for the most part. There's really only one exception to that. You can literally leave this right here. You don't need to boost him beyond that in order to get that aspect of his kit out of him. Next, so basically you want to have him run before all of your big heavy damage dealers in the turn order so that he can knock off scales in time. For this critical thinking, this is a really, really good one because it's going to essentially take all of your characters that are hovering like that 30 to 70, and it's going to double their chance that they're going to be, 30 to 40, and it's going to double their crit chance. They're going to be critting far more often, and that's what goes to all allies for 2 turns as a 4-turn cooldown. So, again, assuming there isn't some great disparity, about half of their turns they're going to have that available. And then you go here, you can boost his own crit chance. If you have him built a bit, sure, this is great, especially whenever he gives himself this boost, right? He still gives it to himself, and in addition, he gives himself crit damage increase. So that means if he's hovering even like the 30s, he's maxed. He is going to crit, on anything. So if you do feel like building him, there is a use for it. It's strictly an Erochar. I do not recommend him even in Soleus because there's just much better physical damage dealers to use in that mini boss. So that's number 5, Sharpe. Next we go to our 4th, who's a fairly similar character. That's right. I recently added one of his farming, his nodes, because it also has some really good gear on it. So just kind of help myself out there. Shaolin, same situation. You are not using this guy on anyone except Erochar, but he's really good for Erochar. The reason why multi-hit characters are really good against Erochar is because days doesn't matter. Obviously, if there's some character who's boosting the turn meter for the team, then it matters there. But insofar as them getting multiple hits out, they're not relying on counters, so days doesn't matter. They're not relying on assists, so days doesn't matter. If you look at his basic, I mean, okay, if you use him during in your first hit of Erochar, you're gonna help recover some health. That's not devoid of value, but again, if you're like me, right, who like literally all I care about is knocking some scales off, he has 2 specials with multiple hits. So first one with 3, again, you don't even have to boost this beyond the first attack, and he's gonna give you it. So we've now seen this. This is essentially irrelevant. You don't have to boost this. Here as well, look, his second special 7 times. This clears out the scales even on the highest, even on T7. Clears out all the scales, and guess what? You don't need to put anything on there. This has it starts off on a 4 out of 5, so that means it's gonna be up on the first time that the scales come out. And if you are using a character that's gonna apply slow, basically what you're gonna be able to do is you're gonna be able to alternate between this attack and this attack. And sure, on this attack, you're gonna need to have a couple other characters help knock off those last scales, but that takes out a lot. So again, you throw this guy at the front of your turn order, and he's going to be able to clear out a bunch of scales, and so you're just wrecking up damage, right? This boosting accuracy, again. So literally, here's why he's above Sharpe, because his utility, you don't need to put a single scroll into any of his attacks. None of them. So all you have to do, boost up his gear a little bit, and again, like, if you're climbing the tower, you need pandas right now. And I foresee you would continue to need pandas. You know, if there's events that require panda characters, warriors, there's so many better options. We're not going to pretend like you would use them there. But essentially, if you just give him some gear and some speed, if you have unlocked speed or survivability mods, and he's going to be able to knock out all the scales half the time. And the other half, this is assuming you're using a character who applies slow, because this is what I'm talking about. I was talking about in the last video. Slow is so huge on Erochar because it gives you more time in between. So that's number 4. Again, you have to put 0 ability scrolls into him to get out of him what you want. Certainly it'll increase your damage if you do that. But anyway, that's used for him. Next we have, and this is my only one at at gear 7, Illyria. So she's not a terrible healer. You can see with her AoE that she's able to heal for a pretty solid amount. Her second special also creates some healing. So, and it's probably going to be your tank, right? Or it's going to be a low DPS who's close to dying. So it's going to heal a person who could use some healing. You know, she can boost her magic damage. I wouldn't suggest running her. So here's who Illyria is great against any boss. Maybe I think that there's a certain raid where the team, or one boss where the team comp works best with her in. But the main reason for it is this. So I talked about this in the last video. We don't have a lot of characters that can cleanse debuffs, and if they do, they generally do it on themselves. And if it's not on themselves, it's like a single target ally, with the exception of Hard Work. That's like the one exception we have. That's what makes Hard Work so great. So if I have Hard Work on one team, how am I gonna help reduce the chances of debuffs, you know, on everybody all the time? I don't want to constantly be using turns to remove debuffs. I need them to be doing damage, right? Well, if you have Illyria's basic maxed, not only is she going to be able to keep on using her heals because this potency decrease lasts for 3 turns, but you're going to have a much higher chance of resisting all of these negative status effects. So Illyria is really good for that one reason, but all the same, it is a really good situation, because right now we kind of need to use every healer. You know, if you break down the healers available to you, right? I know we're about to have Thanessa, but again, this is about characters we can get to 7 stars, right? If we're looking at 7 characters, we can all get to 7 stars kind of with regular farming. Soleus isn't included there, right? We got Patriarchies and Tara, Mortha, Illyria, and Sengiel. And Sengiel's, I mean, people are about to start building them some to work on getting Ember, but and then he's just not great. So if you're looking at that, now I have 4 characters. You have 5 tickets, you're going to run probably at least 3 teams. And Patriarch Chi is not really great all by himself because he's mostly about replenishing shield. So you're gonna probably be using Illyria, or you're going in with a suicide team. That's really what your choices are. Illyria is really good for reducing the amount of debuffs that you get that are debilitating. I find her best on a Megawheel team. If you have kind of all of the characters available, using her on Megawheel I think is a good spot. So moving on, we now go to number 2, and these two characters have fairly similar mechanics that they use. Robin Bad. I know. Robin Bad's not that great, particularly in PvP. I mean, gosh, people weren't even trying in his tournament to a degree because they're like, I don't even care about this guy's shards. This is the reason why. Megawheel, you could use him with anyone. You shouldn't use him against Hard Orc because he has the physical resist, and you shouldn't use him against Erochar because he can't have his turn meter reduced. But against either the other two, and particularly I say Megawheel because Megawheel has all of that turn meter generation. Every single time he attacks with his basic, it crits, it lowers by 20%. That's pretty dang good. Now, you'll see with his passive, he has a chance to counterattack. That's going to give you some additional damage. Unfortunately, if they're attacking, they have a empty turn meter bar because it just hit their turn. So he's not going to be able to reduce any turn meter in any of those attacks, which is, yeah, if there was some magical way of accomplishing that, yeah, that would be great. But on all of it, like, you would just roll this all the time. The math just doesn't work out. You're better off just giving him tons of crit chance mods and not trying to get this. Unless you're like I honestly think there's very little justification for ever using this move, because in a raid you want to be using that all the time. So go here again. This is kind of like the Sharpe situation where let's pretend that he has basically no turn meter, right? Robin Bad's turn comes right up after Megawheel's just taking his turn, so he's not going to be able to reduce much of his turn meter. This restores turn meter to all the allies, so that's good. That's only if you have it, bumped up all the way, but, and he applies the crit damage increase and damage increase, so it can help with your damage. And if you're using him on a team, you are going to need to kind of get some damage from him for this strategy to work. But overall he can help increase your team's overall output. It would be nice if there was a crit chance on this, but they already give it from here, and I guess they didn't want to totally double it up like they did with Sharpe. I've already showed you this passive. It'll help because both of the ads on Megawheel do AoE attacks in addition to Megawheel himself, so he will get out some additional shots. Not going to see any turn meter reduction because they won't have any to reduce, but that is extremely helpful. Now, the reason why our top person on the list ranks above Robin Bad is because he is the other character who applies slow that we have access to. So you saw in my last one, Freezard, top shelf character for the raid, who's also great at PvP because he applied speed down, he applied armor decrease, try to use the right terms, and he has turn meter reduction on his 3 abilities. That's the main tools you look for in managing a raid boss. So Master Do, and you can see I'm getting to the point to where I actually am. I was, in fact, I'll go ahead and throw this on him now. I was kind of holding off stuff. I'll talk more about Ember in another video, but I knew I wanted to put this one out today because I had talked about it. So I'll look into some of this other stuff too, but I want to start using him because, put your money where your mouth is, right? So the reason why is essentially this basic. When you have it maxed, 50% chance to inflict slow for 2 turns, and if they're afflicted by slow, its turn meter is reduced by 30%. So when you go into a match, if you don't hit slow the first time, just go ahead and restart, right? 50% chance isn't fantastic, but it does last for 2 turns, and every single time they're afflicted by slow, turn meter reduced by 30%, so 10% more than Robin Bad's, which is great, and he's also having a chance to reapply the slow. every time that he's on there. So if it's the next turn, right, you're on Megawheel and he still has that, you hit him on his first turn, now he's on that second turn where the slow still lasts, and you can reapply it. So it just stacks and stays on the whole time. And you're going to be reducing the turn meter to increase the chance of that being able to happen before hey, I've reapplied slow before he's even had another turn. So this is certainly not bad. And anything that is able to increase the turn meter is really good in this match, because you have Megawheel boosting his own turn meter. So if you have the ability to remove his, boosting your own is going to help you out there. He's also going to help give some regeneration. I think basically these top 3 characters, I think, work really well against Megawheel together. You want to use Hard Orc on Soleus. Between the bleed stacking you get with other physical damage characters over there, the lack of anyone that provides any kind of cleansing on that team, really good team going to throw over there. He does physical damage, so you don't really want to use him against Hard Orc. Over here, you're going to put him with Illyria, who we've talked about, has a decent heal. It's not fantastic. So you're able to give some regeneration to 3 allies, some armor increase to help out with that, and Master Duo is going to gain regeneration stacks on top of that turn meter increase. Really high value. If you go just to level 3, you give it to a couple allies. I think that's far enough for people who aren't trying to go too crazy in the raid, but the guild that clears this first will be using Master Duo on their Megawheel team, period. So let's go in here. This is also a pretty solid one. Again, you don't need to boost it beyond here. This is pretty much about maxing out your damage output and a little bit of his survivability. Here, I think is worth doing because, again, that chance to apply slow. So with Robin Bad, right, his counterattacks do some damage, but they don't really help us out. But because on his basic, he also has a 50% chance to apply slow, he has a chance to apply slow on the ads, to apply slow on Megawheel before it's even his turn. So even if you get unlucky with 1 or 2 hits on his actual turn, if you counterattack and you throw that slow on, boom. So he's going to gain 50% turn meter. He's great, again, cranking him up to throw more TM down, TM reduction down. He's going to recover some health, because again, Illyria is not the greatest healer in the world. He's going to give himself some crit chance, he's going to give himself some crit damage. Can be prevented or removed, none of that matters with anything there. And he gains the counterattack for 2 turns if you just bring it to level 3. Because we are looking what's low investment, right? Robin Bad, with both Robin Bad and Master Duo, you have to max out their basic, or it's not even worth it. With Robin, you don't have to boost his first special at all, because you're not going to use it. His third special, you can argue a little bit of value to boosting it a bit. And then his counterattack, again, you can, but it's not going to help you with the main mechanic because he's only going to be able to apply turn meter reduction. Here, again, got to max that basic, but if you take this to level 3, you're getting a decent amount of value out of this. The level 4 isn't that great. If you're able to go here, that is pretty solid because now you've gotten but here, again, you go to level 3. So really, I would recommend maxing out level 3, and you can do nothing to this. Like, yeah, if he manages to be the last remaining fighter, sure, it's great particularly if you're able to throw that counterattack on him. He's going to be counterattacking, throwing slow on, but in the end, that's really not going to add that much to your damage. It's something, so if you want, knock yourself out, but honestly, you don't have to boost this up at all. So 1 maxed out ability, 2 single ability, 1, 2, right, 2 ability increases, 1, 2, 2 ability increases. This is really your only investment. So these are my top 5 characters. Again, those bottom 2, the Shaolin and Sharpe, you're gonna their exclusive use is going to be against Erochar. They're knocking off scales and for Sharpe applying buffs, but Shaolin's great because you literally don't have to put a single ability scroll on him in order to get the utility for the raid. Illyria, you do have to max out some. You're going to have to max out her, or at least get her heal up pretty high. You're going to want to max out, at least get to level 5 her basic. And you're going to want to, that's kind of the situation with Illyria, where you are going to have to kind of build her normally. Robin Bad only have to build that basic, And with a Master Duo, you only have to fully build the basic, and the easiest, the first 2 increases for 2 other abilities, and you're gonna actually get a pretty great raid character. So we're about to start a new raid, and I'm gonna do a couple boosts here to my buddy Master Duo to have him raid a service there. But anyway, thanks for watching, and I hope you got a lot out of it, and I'll see you guys next time.